be updated.
Okay, let me see. Yep. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So now I can go back into the blab and tell everybody.
Sorry. Okay. I'm going to go up and grab a beverage. And I'll be right back.
All right.
Oh, no. I had the lab open. That's why I was going earlier.
Okay.
I forgot I had put it in, pasted into a tab.
Sorry, guys. I was afraid that blab was not going to work, and it looks like we will no longer be using it. Sucks.
Yeah. Back to the Googs.
Well, we have a couple other options. I'll look into it and kind of.
Yeah. The live chat is nice.
That was the best thing is that it
More
worked
interactive.
well. It worked well. It sounded good, and it had a great chat integration.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Although I at times would get distracted by the chat, just because I'd be reading it, and my brain can only do one thing at a time.
I've been annoyed with our push notifications too.
I did get the one about Nathan, but it's the last one I've gotten.
Yeah, I tried to send one out about Katie Day, and that didn't go through. About that contest thing. Oh, hey, big news, guys. Jahani Peralta is rehabbing with the Peoria Chiefs this weekend.
Jahani.
Oh.
Andy, can you talk a second? You seem way quieter than.
I just talked very quietly a second ago.
All right.
Does that sound normal?
Yep, we're good.
Jahani.
Sorry, Mac is being a total butthole right now upstairs. Seriously is like stressing me out so badly right now. Listening to Beth get stressed out.
You need a beer.
I have one.
I got one too. I've got the end of this one and one on deck.
I don't have one, but
you should. 400 episodes.
I know. I should go get one. You know what? I will. If I have one in the fridge, I'll be right back.
He's got one left. It's like this. It's the extra beer. Well, we must have switched places then tonight, Andy, because ours went super smooth, which is not normal. Our night routine. Normally we get Butthole Central.
Butthole Central.
Oh. Yeah, he's going through the I'm not going to listen to anything you tell me to do. It doesn't really matter.
Oh
I'm gonna
man.
say no 75 times. And he also likes to slam doors and lock them now. That's his latest antic.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to get to work.
Yeah, right? My goodness. I don't feel that well prepared for this episode, which is irritating.
It's not a lot of in-depth stuff, so you should be alright. If you watched a game or two from the Brewer series?
I watched one, I guess.
Yeah. I didn't.
Oh,
I
wait a
watched
second.
bits and pieces.
Oh yeah, I watched all of Wednesday night's game and then the end of Tuesday night's game.
Did you make it through the whole Wednesday night fiasco?
You know what's annoying is I made it almost to the end and I think I fell asleep right before the really important parts.
Yep, that's what I did. I fell asleep like right before the bases loaded thing happened. But I was one of those. It wasn't just like, I was trying to stay awake and then just sort of passed out. I was so tired. Like where you have no recollection of even dozing off. It's like, I was trying to stay awake and then just sort of passed out. I was so tired. That was me.
Oh man, I man.
I
I
be
do not
unemployed.
like this setup.
Just kidding.
I do not like this setup at all.
This setup?
No, using Google Plus and
Oh.
all that. Stupid. So I don't know. When I have more time, there's that. Remember that one time we did a hangout and we used that appear.in?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try
the one we use for like the big group of.
Yeah, and it didn't work very well, but it had just launched. It's still around, and so it'll be the same situation though, that the chat is not part of the whole thing. You know, it's like two separate things. It's really annoying. Blab had so much potential, and
So Blab they're just giving up on it.
Well, they haven't really come out and said anything. It's just that like all of a sudden that company like released a new app today, and it's like kind of like Blab, but not totally. And then it's just like, oh, okay, so that's why Blab has sucked for the last month. So basically, what it is like it's called Bebo, and so it's like Blab, except for I think it's private, and so you can like hang out with your friends. So it's like group calling, I guess. I don't know.
Skype.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, oh yeah, well there's other. I don't know. I'm sure they have some reason for doing it. I don't know. And there's probably more to it, but it's frustrating. I really liked Blab.
Yeah, that's good. We got to have people give us props.
Well, it was just easy. Yeah, like I said, I thought the sound quality was good. I thought I liked how it was just all integrated, the chat and the video and everything was all integrated. And all right, well, I'm ready if you guys are.
Show.
Yep.
See if we can do this without any edits.
Hashtag no edits.
Let me hold on. I'm gonna send out thing. All right, I'm almost ready. You guys see that Carrie Muscant is getting a little active again?
Didn't you send us a screenshot of?
I saw you had an interaction with her today on Twitter. The real Carrie Muscat.
Sorry, I'm almost ready. I'm sorry, guys.
That's fine.
I don't really intend to talk about the games too much.
Okay. We should probably touch on the craziness of last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the main game to talk about.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Guess I better turn the recorder on.
Also,
All right, here we go.
Hi, this is Sean O'Hare from Clear Lake, Iowa. And this episode is brought to you by IVNV Patreon supporters like me. Learn more at patreon.com/IVNV. Next!
Okay, sorry guys. These batteries are going to die.
okay.
We're going old school tonight.
Everything going wrong.
It's a throwback episode.
See, another thing I don't like about Google is that you guys sound more like muffled to me.
Muffled this.
Should we project a little more?
Keep talking for a second. Let me mess with the...
I think it's a little bit of a psychological thing, as I know Mac's going to bed right now. Or something.
that you're muffled.
Well, it makes me like kind of naturally want to sort of talk a little bit more quietly.
Oh no, it's not that. It's like it's just not as like crisp. Like I really noticed it more with Kurt. I noticed it when we were using this last time, but I mean, Andy, do you need to take care of that? You need us to wait a few minutes?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I got told to come downstairs. So I was getting a little too riled up.
She told you to get on the shed?
Go get on the roof of the shed.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is Sean O'Hare from Clear Lake, Iowa. And this episode is brought to you by IVNV Patreon supporters like me. Learn more at patreon.com/IVNV. Next!
Gosh dang it. I'm sorry, guys. Man.
It's vintage.
It is.
Vintage, Corey.
I muted. Sorry. Okay. One more time, I promise.
Don't make promises. You
Hi, this is Sean O'Hare from Clear Lake, Iowa. And this episode is brought to you by IVNV Patreon supporters like me. Learn more at patreon.com/IVNV. Next!
Hi, and thanks for downloading this, the 400th episode of the IVMV podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about a few events coming up. We'll talk about the series with the Brewers that the Cubs just wrapped up today. The Brewers won that series 2-1. We'll answer some listener questions. Kurt will preview the upcoming series with the Giants, and Andy will share a Rube Waddell story. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and I am joined by the other two hosts of this podcast.
Hey, it's Andy.
And Kurt.
400 episodes, guys.
Wow.
That's not enough. We have our work cut out for us.
Right. So to celebrate, I mean, normally on these on these 100th episodes, every 100 we've done something special. This is the first time where it's just been like, yeah, let's just do a regular episode.
You know,
What are you guys celebrating? What are you drinking?
we're taking after Cardinals fans, and you got to act like you've been there before.
What are you guys drinking?
Oh, I got nothing that special. I have some Goose Island Pilsner
Huh.
that I
Oh,
got from the Hy-Vee grocery.
doesn't sound like a terrible choice.
No.
Mm-mm.
What are you
Nice.
drinking, Andy?
Warm weather.
I have a Left Hand Extrovert IPA. It's all right.
I'm drinking our old standby Uncommon Stout.
Nice.
It's pretty good. It's good. But so I was kind of, over the last week, I've been thinking about this 400th episode, and it feels like, I mean, doesn't it feel like it should be more than that? Doesn't it feel like we've done a lot more than 400?
Yeah,
It does, yeah.
for sure.
But I don't know. 400 is a lot.
It is, yeah. And so I've been thinking, and I think if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you'll know some of the things that have just kind of become like part of the fabric of IVMV. I guess, Chuck Mangione, for example. There's several things, just sayings or things that have kind of taken a life of their own. But I was thinking, we did a lot of episodes early on, and there was just a fraction of people listening then that do now. And so, do you guys have any like favorite memories, maybe from early on?
I mean, mine weren't particular. They're very much not Cubs related, more like situational. And so a lot of mine are like, when we used to record out in the patio at your place in Moline, we were all in the same general town, live within a few miles of each other. So we got together every Saturday and sat on the patio and
Yeah.
recorded. Like, I don't know, those are the kind of things that stick out. And then, we'd have game watches out there. That was a lot of fun. Basically, like the locations we've moved from place to place. Like
Right.
Jason's dining room for a long time, the
Yeah.
old basement studio.
Yeah, well, so I mean, a couple of one of my memories that I was thinking about today is from when we recorded on our patio. And do you remember when my neighbor
Oh yeah.
wandered in the yard and just kind of wondered what we were doing back there with microphones, and then decides to invite himself on the podcast and sat down and started talking about all of the C words that
Mhm.
are somewhat affiliated with the Cubs. All the words that start with
I seem to remember, like, every time somebody said a C word, he'd be like, "That's a C word."
oh
Wish I
man.
knew what episode that was off the top.
Yeah,
But
I don't
Yeah.
either.
It had to have been in the first. I bet it was around number 50.
Seasons.
Yeah, I think it might have been like the first year. I bet it was right around in there in the beginning. Oh man, anything stand out to you, Andy?
Yeah, kind of some. I was thinking of that same situation, sitting out on the patio. I mean, we had a lot of good times there. I remember an episode where the microphones were picking up Spanish phrases shouted by the roofers from next door.
That said neighbor.
Yeah, same neighbor. And there was a specific phrase, like a specific thing one of them said that came through on the microphones. I can't remember what it was though, but I remember it being pretty funny.
Yeah, that was fun. And I mean, all those were Jason recording us. So I mean, I think really what Jason, he since has moved to St. Louis, and wasn't even that big of a Cubs fan. Not really a big baseball fan, but really helped us out like when we most needed it, when we were first
Mhm.
starting and we had no idea what we were doing recording wise. So I mean, I'm not sure we would be here without Jason, really.
Yeah, I definitely remembered all the work he would. And then when we recorded on the patio, he would sit inside the bar, like in a hole, like, and record. And then he offered us his dining room, probably because he didn't want to sit in there. But yeah, all the hours he put in for little or nothing in return, that was pretty great. Same with all the co-hosts we've had
Right.
over the time. We've had a few off and on, so yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking back, like some of the terms or whatever, like most recently Get in the Box, like that just kind of took, a life of its own or whatever. And I was trying to remember some of the things that, like, I don't know, kind of probably would have stuck had we had more of an audience. And one stood out to me. Do you guys remember what the nickname that we gave Mike Quaddy?
No, what was it?
Neckfurter.
Oh yeah.
Simply because the back of his neck looked like a package of hot dogs.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, those were the days when we mostly talked about appearances rather than baseball. Oh man.
But yeah, I don't know. It's been fun, and I think these 100 episodes are, those marks are good times to look back and think about, all the different stuff we've done and some of the things that, I probably would be embarrassed about if we did it now. But, it's cool that, I was thinking back to like interviewing Baez and Schwarber, Vogelbach, Matt Caesar. I mean, that was really cool. And, being able to do some things officially with the Cubs in a official capacity, that's been really cool, and spring training and everything. So,
one other thing, just to for the newcomers who are sort of thinking like if you missed out on anything early, last year's playoffs was probably one of the most like special community moments we had, and just like
right
excitement of it all. And then when we did the recordings after everyone, even though that's really recent, it was fantastic.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking about this too, that I was trying to think of like how I would describe our podcast, because when people ask me like, oh, you do a Cubs podcast, it's like yeah, we just kind of talk about the Cubs. And I was thinking like if I really kind of had to like sum up exactly what IVMB is, I think I would just play Danny Rocket's song IV in Gioni, because I think that sums up our podcast. So I think I will play that song at the end of our episode. So anyways, yeah, thanks for, if you're listening to this, thanks for at some point in those 400 episodes finding us and deciding to stick around. We appreciate it, as we take forever to get into Cubs talk here tonight. So I guess we should talk about this series with the Brewers that the Cubs just wrapped up. And I'll just kind of say that I don't have a lot to say about this series. First off, it's been a chaotic week. I coach my daughter's softball team, and I'm the president of our town's baseball association, and I'm trying to get our field, concession stand, facilities, our lights aren't working, so a lot of things going on. Everything starts next week, so I wasn't able to watch these games. I did listen to bits and pieces, but do you guys have any thoughts on these games?
Yeah, I was only able to watch one full game, and then I listened to a little bit of the other two. But one thing that stands out to me about this series is there's people that are like going crazy about the Cubs losing 2 out of 3 to the Brewers. And we were talking about people getting upset when the Cubs lose this season so far, and it just seems so bonkers.
Right.
But I just wanted to check people a little bit on that. I mean, is that like last year the Cubs were 14-14 in May, and we all know that the outcome of the season last season was pretty darn good. So they were 500 in May last year, and they're 11-6 so far in May 2016. And they lost some games to some bad teams last season too. I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Brewers in May last year. They of course had that Phillies series that really, as Pat would put it, that seemed like a turning point for the season. Had the real turning point feel to it, and they were 3-3 against the Padres, which was a pretty bad team last year. And so I don't know, like, do people still honestly expect them to go like 120 and 42 or whatever? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Some people are getting spoiled a little bit, maybe, but.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think they just got off to such a hot start that we were used to them winning every single day. And, if there's a day that people can't, put Wilbur outside to flap in the wind, then, it's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And you still look, I mean, okay, what's their record right now is, what is it? I don't have it pulled up. 28.
28-11.
We should know
Oh, fudge, man.
28-11.
I don't think that's right.
It's not.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm looking at it.
Oh man, that was all right. So you're gonna have to splice it in right when. What is the record right now? And then you're gonna splice in Kurt saying 28-11.
You saying, yep, that's right.
Yep, that's right. No, but I mean that is 17 games over 500, and yeah, it's frustrating to lose a couple games to the Padres and lose a couple games, lose a series to the Padres, lose a series to the Brewers. That's frustrating, but I think there's some explanations, and then there's just the fact that this team is going to lose baseball games. It's just going to happen, So I think we're seeing some low offensive production right now. And personally, I don't think that's anything to be alarmed about. It's not as fun to watch as when the team is playing well, but it's a 162 game season, and there's going to be stretches like this. And Tuesday was frustrating. The Cubs were facing a 1-5 pitcher with a 6 or something ERA, and he almost throws a no-hitter. But we've seen the Cubs struggle against pitchers like this, and it's going to happen. But, when you really, if you try to pinpoint, one, I guess, reason that this is happening right now, you have to look at the run, how they're hitting with runners in scoring position. Just in this series, they went a combined 1 for 24, including going 0 for 13 in the extra innings game. But that's just going to happen. It's all going to balance out. And they were early in the season, in April, in the first half of May, it just seemed like they were emptying the bases before, and now things have dried up a little bit. And I don't think that it's anything to worry about. I think hitting with runners in scoring position is something that evens out over time. So
yeah, for sure. And they struck out a lot too. I mean, they struck out 15 times in today's game, which is a lot. So yeah, the offense has been scuffling a little bit, and it's maybe worth pointing out that the two losses were a Hamill start and a Hendricks start. Right. And so I mean, obviously, like, their bottom end guys are gonna lose every once in a while too. I mean, Hamill gave up 4 earned runs in today's game. I'm sorry, maybe it was 5. He gave up 4 earned runs. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct. And then also I think Hendricks gave up 4 earned runs in his start. So the starting pitching has been great, including these guys. But it makes sense that they're going to lose some of the games that their 4 and 5 starters start. It's just going to happen.
Sure. Yeah. And
those guys could have. Sorry, Corey.
No, go ahead.
I was just say those guys could have had very different outings too if they got even 1 or 2 runs early, where the Cubs just didn't score anything. And they looked really great. Like, Hendricks was fantastic through his first 4 innings or something, and then got hit. So it could have been, like I said, different with a little bit of earlier run support, but there was definitely some contrasts where the first game they just had nothing going. Second game they got some stuff going but couldn't get them in. So, but yeah, like you said, I mean, it's one series, and it's frustrating to lose to the Brewers, but time to move on.
Right. I mean, it's just something where it doesn't really impact. Again, 17 games over 500, and to be honest, I still stand by by my opinion that stretches like this are not all bad for this team. I think it's a young team that needs the experience of digging out of a slump and digging out of, maybe getting guys on base, but not being able to get them in. I think the more things that this team sees this season will make them better at the end of the season. And to be honest, I think it's good for Cubs fans too.
Sure.
It won't. I mean, it'll be nice that if the Cubs drop a series or get swept in August, that we can say, well, think back to that, when they played the Padres and in the Giants, or the Padres and the Brewers. It's going to be nice to kind of refer back to those things and be able to show that, yes, this team does pull out of things, because I have confidence that they're going to. So I think it's just it's good for the team, because I don't necessarily want the regular season to be a breeze for the Cubs. because then if they are on their heels, close to the playoffs or during the playoffs, they may not know how to respond to that. And I don't want to see them lose, but I don't think it's all bad that if they go through little stretches like this.
Yeah, it's a great experience. It can be a learning experience. One other thing that I would add to what you said too is a lesson here is, I'm not saying that they necessarily did this, but you can't ever overlook anyone. No matter who the opponent is, you can't take anything for granted. And so I don't think that's the case with them necessarily. But if it is, I mean, series like this would be a good lesson. That being said, I mean, I think Madden does a good job at, preparing them and helping them to play every game to their utmost ability. But
yeah, I'm Ed in the live broadcast chat right now. He just said recent losses are frustrating, but the Cubs are still on pace to win 116 games. So, kind of putting into perspective there.
Yeah, and to go along with what Andy said too, like, May, June isn't a bad time to sort of level off either, because like they did it last year. They were kind of 500 for both of those months and then really kicked it in July, August, September. So if you get a repeat of that, we'll forget about May and June pretty easily.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else to say about the series. I mean, I just think there's no point in really dissecting. Although
I do want to kind of touch on the awesomeness of the bases loaded, nobody out, wiggle out last night, where I think one of the coolest parts of it was the shuffling of the position players, where, let's see, I might get this wrong, but I'm going to try from memory. But so Bryant comes in to play third with an extra infielder, Then he swaps with Baez and they trade gloves so that Bryant's playing first and Baez is playing third. Then Baez goes back to first, Bryant goes back to left, all in the same half inning. The switching gloves, that was just so awesome, just so funny, just because it was so Sandlot, so what you did when you were a kid. Not that I ever had a first baseman's glove or anything, but just kind of a crazy situation where they were just scrambling all over the field, and then they get out of it. So that's when, to quote Pat, that was the sort of turning point in that.
I just feel like Madden gets so lucky sometimes, but it was funny though. Bryant gave Baez his glove, and then Baez put it on for a second, and then was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna go get mine." So he went to the dugout to get his, but
so I think Bryant used 3 different gloves.
Yeah.
That same half.
But that was fun. That was really fun. I mean, I was pretty amazed that they went on to win that game, in all honesty. I don't think I've ever seen any crazy shifting shenanigans like that work out well. Not that it was exactly that got them through that inning, as the Brewers popped up on the infield 3 times in a row, I think.
Yep.
But man, that was entertaining. For sure.
I mean, if you want to talk about the versatility of this team, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, and we one of our over-unders was I think one was how many does Baez play in a game, or maybe it was Bryant.
It was Bryant.
It was how many thought it's not going to be that many.
I think it was how many he played this season, and I was 2.
Yeah, he plays 3.5 an inning. So
3.5 innings. Because I expected, it's going to be a little bit more stable as far as the defensive stuff goes, but
yeah. That was definitely the sort of highlight of this not so great series.
Yeah,
well, and can I say this? The same game too. Didn't Madden have Cahill pinch hit earlier in the game?
And he made really good hard contact too. He just hit it to somebody.
Right, but I mean, this goes to my point with Madden is hey, you guys remember the game where I had Cahill pinch hit and we went on to win? I mean, just everything he does just seems to turn to gold somehow, which is great. I mean, I'll take it every single time. But I in that same game too, I wanted to point out David Ross just was killing it, as he picked off Jonathan Lucroy as he kind of caught him leaning too far, I think, on second base.
Yeah, that was a really
Is that the
interesting
play
one.
where he ran out?
Yeah, where he
Yeah,
ran out and
okay,
they got him in a pickle, and he ran all the way to
Yeah,
the shortstop position, and basically.
yeah. That was one of
Um,
those moments where I was watching with my wife, and I said, like, those are the things that I think a lot of people don't notice about fundamentally how you play certain positions. That, like, if I were watching with my son, who was already asleep, thankfully, you'd point out those kind of things. Like, if you ever catch, like, that's how you do it, kind of stuff.
Man, I
Right.
mean,
It was cool.
and he was pumped. He was jacked
Yep.
after that, because he kind of, I don't know, bailed out Lackey a little bit there, I believe. And then he also threw out 3 people trying to steal as well in that same game. I mean, he was on fire in that game.
Ligaments
Yeah.
be damned.
Yeah, it's fun to he's been a ton of fun. You know what I'm trying to say. He's been a lot of fun to watch this season. I mean, because he really is out there just playing like crazy. Like and you can tell, like, I remember a game, it must have been in the Padres series, where he tried to pick someone off of first base, and you could tell he knew he didn't get him, but he wanted it so bad. Like, like he's just like, they're like notches on his bedpost, on his headboard.
Bedpost.
His headboard.
You can put Jonathan Lucroy on his bed.
Yeah, he just goes home at night and he's like, "Yep, I got 3 more." Yeah, I don't have much else to say about the series. Do you guys?
No.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's just one to kind of like just shake off and have a short memory about. And they're gonna have
Right.
to. I mean, they're going out to face the Giants, and I know Kurt's gonna talk about that a little bit, but yeah, they just have
kind
to
of
move
an
on.
awkward scheduling, where
Yeah.
like Milwaukee to San Francisco and then back to St. Louis.
Yeah,
It's
especially
kind
with
of a rough trip.
Yeah, and they're 3 night games, on a weekend, which is kind of rare. And but I just think it's going to be good to get out of Milwaukee.
Mhm.
Maybe like heading out west to change the scenery, kind of be good for this team. And I don't know. I was ready for this like Brewer series to end after like the first game. It just felt weird.
Mhm.
There's your marginal analysis.
The whole thing just felt weird. Well, I mean, it doesn't help that like the roof was closed. I think for at least 2 of the games, and it gives it that like feel of like we're working under fluorescent lights
Mhm.
type of thing, where it feels, I don't know, it feels like they're in a warehouse or something. And so it's like a stark contrast from sunny Wrigley Field to go to, I don't know, I feel like I'm at work, like I'm working under fluorescent lights when I'm watching the Cubs play at Miller Park with the roof closed.
I get that same vibe too. Like when I watch those games, like same in Arizona when they play there. It's like it just has that, very closed in feel.
Like, let's get these packages on the cart, and down the conveyor belt type of situation.
Turn in your TPS reports.
Turn in your TPS reports and get Bernie down that slide. We need those packages up on the plane stat.
Oh boy. All right. So before we get to some listener questions here, let's talk about some events coming up. How about John Baker Day? Let's start there. So Danny Rocket and I, we did a blab on Monday night and announced John Baker Day. And so if you did not hear that, I put it in the podcast feed, but if you missed it, July 29th, 2014, that's the night that John Baker earned a win as the pitcher and then scored the winning run in the bottom of the 16th inning. And so we are doing an event to celebrate the 2-year anniversary with John Baker himself. And it's at Nisei Lounge and on July 29th. And all the details are at ivmv.com/John Baker. But basically what we're doing is it costs $25. That gets you a John Baker t-shirt that Kurt, you and kind of collaborated with Randall, and it looks good. I think it's amazing, actually, and John Baker really got a kick out of it. So you did a good job with that. And so that t-shirt, a drink ticket, and then we're gonna do Danny's gonna play the Ballad of John Baker, and we're going to do like a little Q&A thing with Baker, probably focusing kind of on that night, and his experience with it. And then Katie Day is also going to be there to perform by the lakeside. So it's at Nisei Lounge. It's going to be a ton of fun. We've already sold a lot of tickets, and the space is limited. We're limited to at the most tickets we can sell is 180. That's all that can fit in there according to the fire code, I guess. So don't wait around. And a lot of people have asked like about the t-shirts, that they like them so much they want to be able to get the t-shirts. We couldn't really figure out. I mean, all the proceeds are going to Cubs charities. We asked John to pick a charity for the proceeds to go to, and that's what he chose, was Cubs charities. So whether you go or not, it's $25. So you can get the t-shirt for $25, and then all your proceeds are going to good causes and to help the community. So you can purchase all that at ivnb.com/John Baker. And then, of course, there is a game that afternoon. And if you would like to kind of join the group, just buy bleacher tickets. Bleachers are general admission, so you can do that, or sit anywhere you want. Bleachers are kind of expensive on that day. It's a Friday. So it would probably be cheaper to find other tickets somewhere. But if you would like to sit with the group, then you can do that. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We also have some things that we're going to present to John Baker. It should be fun, but we don't want to talk about it yet until everything's all nailed down. So, and there will be more details coming out, about that event as things get a little more solidified. So again, ivnb.com/John Baker, and come hang out. It should be a lot of fun. And all three of us are going to be there, and all three hosts of the Sun Ranto podcast are going to be there. So that cool. Should be a lot of fun too. If you listen to both of our podcasts, it's probably one of the only times that all six of us would be in the same place. And then we haven't talked about this lately, guys, but Weekend at the Lake. Do you guys want to kind of summarize that real quick?
Yeah, boy, it's going to be a weekend of just camaraderie of Cubs fans in a pastoral setting. So if you enjoy fishing, camping, campfires, just campfire stories, hanging out with fellow Cubs fans,
did you mention wiffle ball?
Talking baseball, wiffle ball, boating. If you enjoy dive bars, this is going to be the weekend for you.
Hey, Andy, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Man. Okay, when I jumped in and said wiffle ball, I don't know if you remember what you said after that. You said dive bars. It sounded really weird on this side.
How about we just start that part over?
Okay. All right. Let me get my timestamp here so I don't. Sorry.
It's fine.
It's been sounding weird at different points for you guys.
There was one point where it echoed and then it went away. Like Andy was talking and it echoed and then it quit. So.
Okay.
Other than that, it's been okay.
Okay. All right. So I'll do that. I'll just kind of start it over and we can. Okay. And then we also have the Weekend at the Lake coming up in August. And do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, we do. If you think you would enjoy some camaraderie with Cubs fans in a pastoral setting, you would enjoy the Weekend at the Lake. We'll be camping, fishing, talking Cubs, hanging out around campfire, boating, playing wiffle ball, going to Duffy's. So if you like dive bars, it's going to have a lot of stuff going for it. So I think it should be pretty fun.
And not just any wiffle ball, but it's the best wiffle ball field. What is going on? Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, it's like somebody's DJ mixing.
All right. Anyway, apparently we're not supposed to talk about the Weekend at the Lake.
But so it would just start saying like what you were saying about wiffle ball.
Oh, okay. But not just wiffle ball, any wiffle ball, but the best wiffle ball field in Knox County by far. Probably West Central Illinois.
Oh yeah, maybe the entire state. I don't know. I've not seen all the wiffle ball fields in the area, but it's the best one I've ever played on.
Great. It has a green monster. And it's amazing over at Michael's. And so that is what the weekend. I think it's like the weekend of July 12th, or I'm sorry, August 12th. It's like August 11th through 13th, or 12th through 14th, or somewhere in there.
We're gonna be seeing a lot of each other late July, early August. So
I know that's gonna be nice. Also, 2 people from Canada are coming to the weekend at the lake, and then this week I received an email from Rafael in Brazil, and he is considering attending.
Oh man,
this is an international event, folks.
Special, just coming for that thing.
Raphael, no.
Wow,
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a lot of people that are very interested in coming. I mean, a lot of and people are coming bringing their kids and stuff like that too. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and you can get the details at ivmv.com/lake. That'll take you to the Facebook event page. But I think it says there's like 15 people that are coming, but I think it's more like 30 from what I've heard. People bringing friends and stuff like that. And then I don't know, there's a lot of people that have marked interested, like 50 or something. So
we're gonna have to open the back 40.
Well, I already did. I already started like clearing an area back there that would make for a decent campground. So we may have to go back there.
Yeah, maybe we could have a family campground, and we could have a rowdy campground. We could have we'll figure it out. We will accommodate all tastes.
The quiet
if you go to bed at 9, we'll put you way out in the back 40. And
the quiet, studious people in the college.
Oh man, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we would love for you to join us for the weekend, and it's going to be a blast. Okay, so let's get to some listener questions. These are submitted through our Patreon supporters Facebook group, and the first one comes from Lauren, and she says, "I would personally love an update on the baby chicks." So the chicks are doing well. They're well, I don't know, how old are they? Maybe about a month. And they're reaching like a weird stage where they eat and drink way too much, and they're like very skittish, and they make big messes because they're too small for me to put in with the regular chickens. So
big
I know
messes,
that sounds like us.
Destroy their little hotel rooms like rock stars. Those kind of messes.
Right. Well, and I promised Lauren that I would do like a little video to show them, but I forgot. So I'll try to remember to do that this weekend.
Corey starts producing videos of chicks.
I also have one of my hens is broody, and so yeah, she's broody as all get out. So she's been sitting on eggs for 5 or 6 days. So here in a couple of weeks, we might have another little batch of chicks. Which is nice because they can stay with the bigger ones throughout the whole time because the mother hen will like really defend them. So there's all the
chicken news of the week.
Poultry talk you can handle.
Right. Okay, the next one comes from Ryan, and he says, if we end up in the playoffs, do you see the pitching rotation changing at all from the regular season? Or do you think Madden will be confident with each of our 5 starters in a playoff game?
Man, that's so far away, Ryan.
Yeah, but I mean, usually it does change as you don't have to have a full 5-man rotation in the playoffs.
Especially not the short series to start.
Right. So I see it changing in that way. Like Hamill and Hendricks having a reduced role. And then, who knows what over the course of the long season what's going to happen and, what the future brings. But hopefully, you look to have Arrieta, Lester, and Lackey have a pretty heavy role in what the team's success in the playoffs.
Or if Hamill puts together a whole season, could easily be him there. That's too.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm counting on that happening, but I think, like we saw in the playoffs last year, Hamill kind of had Madden had a quick hook with Hamill, and if that's the situation, if everybody's healthy, you can almost see like kind of a Hamill Hendricks joint shared start, or shared outing where maybe Hamill goes 4 and then, Hamill goes 4 and maybe Hendricks can go 3 or 4, and
Or yeah, maybe even Cahill and Warren start to pick up some of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a good question, Ryan. It is hard to say right now. I think it all depends too on it. Do we see first half Hamill or do we see second half Hamill in September and October? And how's Hendricks pitching and how healthy is everybody? I think there's a lot of factors there. The next one here comes from Steven. He says, if the Cubs make a trade deadline deal for a young pitcher, can I request that it's Sonny Gray just so I can get a Cubs jersey that says Sonny Gray Real Estate on the back? I thought it was hilarious. Sorry for the music nerds amongst our ranks. I think, you know what, that would be well worth it to get it personalized to say Sonny. And I don't think I've ever seen even the people that have their own names or they've got something personalized on the back. I don't know if I've ever seen like 2 lines, but I think that would
or just like the full like half circle of so long.
Well, I
up,
mean,
up one side and down the other.
Why don't you just go right in your diary, Stephen, and then if they do get Sonny Gray, we'll see how it feels to be something on, and we'll face the rising tide of their success.
Oh, there's probably like 4 people that got that. Was beautiful, Andy.
Did you just come up with that on the spot, or did you have it written?
No, I came up with it on the spot somehow.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah,
nice work.
What's your favorite, Andy?
The very first album I got of theirs was the Pink album, and that's my favorite, I think.
Yeah. I really like How It Feels to Be Something On, although it wasn't my favorite at the time, but it's kind of become my favorite. But I could listen to Diary like anytime.
Yeah, that album's great.
Okay, so that was a great question. Thanks, Steven. Okay, Dan here. He says, who is the best Cubs pinch hitter of all time? Is it Trevor Cahill?
Well, obviously. I guess that's a rhetorical question, huh?
It's 2 ABEs. It's 500.
Okay, so do you guys have any opinion on this?
You really want us to think of the best?
I did look around a little bit, and I couldn't really find a ton of stats.
Okay, well, I spent more time on this question than I did on anything else with this episode.
Shoot.
So
awesome. Let's hear it.
All right. In my opinion, and I think I'm going to make the case. The answer is Thad Bosley.
No, you're crazy. You are crazy.
By the way, somewhere around here, I have a Thad Bosley picture that is signed by Danny Rocket. I don't know where I put it. I thought it was right down here. But I didn't see it. I must have moved it somewhere.
Just a little known fact is, do you know what Thad Bosley's full name is?
I do.
Thaddeus?
It's Thaddeus.
Just
I-S. It's Thadis Bosley. Thaddeus. No middle name. At least according to Baseball Reference.
Okay, so here it is. This is why I think he is the best Cubs pinch hitter of all times. On Monday, August 12th, 1985, in a game against the Montreal Expos in front of 28,195 spectators, Thad Bosley had the best single-game pitch hitting performance in Cubs history. And the way that I measured it is that I used win probability added. And that was, by the way, his win probability added was 0.948, if you're curious. So in the 6th inning, Thad Bosley, he came into the game and he pinch hit for Warren Brustar, which I don't. Yeah. I mean, 85 was right when I started following the Cubs. I do not remember Warren Brustar. So the Cubs were losing 6-3 at that point, and Bosley hit a 3-run home run to tie it up. And then he came up to bat again in the 8th inning when the Cubs were down 7-6, and he hit a 2-run homer to put the Cubs up 7, and that was the final score, 8-7. So he went 2 for 2 with 2 home runs and 5 RBI in a pinch hitting appearance. So I am going to call Thad Bosley the best Cubs pinch hitter of all time, just for that one performance in a game that meant nothing in 1985.
So that would have been 2 of his 7 home runs that season. I'm just looking at his line. Dude had 180 at bats that season, and he hit 328, 391 OBP, 511 slugging, 902 OPS.
Wow. Huh.
He killed it in 85.
Especially killed on August 12th.
Yeah, he did that as 2 out of his 7 home runs that season on that date.
Huh. Now I didn't look at, I could have looked at like career stuff, but I was that game kind of like, or that result kind of stood out to me at first, and so I kind of started digging into that one. So
Lenny Harris did play for him in 03, so he wasn't particularly great for the Cubs, but one of the best pinch hitters of all time. Or I guess I should say most used.
Right. Yeah. Can we agree on Thaddeus Bosley?
I will accept Thaddeus Bosley.
It's a good response. I like the line of thinking you took on it.
Okay. One more here. I think one more. 2 more. Bill says, what are your thoughts on Travis Wood after last night? Is there a way to make him a better fit for the Cubs bullpen strategy?
I mean, he got out of it last night, so that, I don't know. It doesn't really change much of. I don't know. I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. I think he's okay. He hasn't had the best start, and you've kind of touched on this, Corey. He makes more sense kind of as a loogie lately.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, as I said before, I just don't have a lot of confidence in Travis Wood right now, and he just seems so hittable. He gave up that double to VR to lead off the 13th on Wednesday. But I don't know. You look at his splits, and his numbers really aren't that bad. And I don't really know why he makes me uncomfortable when he comes into pitch. And maybe it's just one of those things where you convince yourself of something, and then that's what you focus on, and you ignore information that indicates otherwise. I don't know, but his walks are up, his strikeouts are down, his BABIP is 200, which is 100 points lower than average and where it was last year. So you factor in that stuff, and that's how you get a FIP of 5.5, even though his ERA is around 4. But I don't know. You look at the batting average against, and in the splits, lefties and righties, and actually righties are hitting worse off of him. But I don't think that the Cubs are comfortable with certain parts of the bullpen right now, and I think we're going to start seeing them tinker with the bullpen, similarly to how they did last year when they kind of filtered through a lot of arms, many of them older, and I guess we're starting to see that, as they signed Joe Nathan, who's on the DL right now, but should be back eventually. And I think that maybe we're going to see, I feel like we're going to see that same thing again this year. Doesn't it feel like that to you guys?
Yeah, I think so. And one of our listeners, I think, said he's remotely connected to Joe Nathan and was saying that he's looking at a post All-Star break return, perhaps, to pitching. So.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
I can't remember who that was. I wish I could give credit to who that was. Budge. But at any rate, yeah, it's eerily familiar, when you think about what they were doing last year and even in 2014 with grabbing kind of former closers that were, undergoing some convalescence, trying to make their way back to pitching health again.
Right.
Yeah. And I could definitely, they definitely could use the lefty help, so you've got Wood and Richard, so a little more. I don't know. Neither of those guys. I think neither have been terrible, but neither give you huge confidence. I think, and so yeah, maybe they could take a flyer on a couple of lefties and see what happens too.
Right. And Bob
Aroldis Chapman. Sorry. I decided to throw that in there for a little lefty help that is probably going to be available. He and Anthony Rizzo would probably get along really well, I'm sure.
Yeah, it would do nothing for the clubhouse dynamic.
Although Soler and Chapman could talk about the good old days in the homeland or something.
Right. One more here. Bob from Moline, he says, who gets to 100 home runs first, Hayward or Ross? So Ross is, of course, 1 home run away, and Hayward is 2 home runs away.
I'm gonna go with Ross.
Man, that's tough. I don't know. I guess it depends on, do we think that Hayward maybe found his stroke with that first home run, or somehow. And he had a 9-game hitting streak heading into
Right.
yesterday's game, which so he basically like failed in a couple pretty big situations in this Brewers series, and people really really are taking Hayward to task on social media right now, and it's kind of irritating, given the fact that outside of those two instances, he seems to kind of be figuring it out. I don't know. I'll pick Hayward, even though I've been a Ross champion for a long time.
Well, I think Ross has the rest of the year to get a home run. And I think, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't kind of see Ross go back to. It wouldn't surprise me if for a couple of weeks we don't see him just kind of getting like his one start with Lester. And, because he carried, so much of the burden.
Oh.
Well,
because they're carrying Fedorovich.
That too, but I think like Ross really kind of like he carried the weight while Montero was gone, and so I think with keeping 3 catchers on the roster, I think maybe we'll just see Ross catch Lester here for the next couple of weeks, maybe. So I think Hayward could pretty easily get a couple home runs, next 2-3 weeks. So
Sure.
I'm gonna put Hayward. So
That's good. I like it when I'm the only one, because that usually means.
What does that usually mean,
I
Kurt?
win.
let's try to
Track
Let's try to
record indicates that I'm usually on the
Listen
right
to him.
side.
Just as a little so I'm shifting gears here, but just as a little footnote to what you were saying, or just how Fedorovich came up, Matt Caesar is poised to do a rehab start, and so he's going to be back before too long, and so they're going to have to make some decisions. I would imagine Fedorovich. I don't know, but I mean, they can't just send Fedorovich down because he doesn't have options. So,
And he's not going to make it through waivers.
yeah, I have a hard time seeing him make it through waivers, as there, probably are plenty of teams that could use a little catching help. So,
and I'm not real sure what I mean. I don't know. Well, okay, so let's say they let him go, and then there's another injury at the catcher position. Let's say over the next month or two, and they're not ready to bring up Contreras. I was trying to think of other options. I guess they could bring up Taylor Davis, maybe. If you're kind of
he isn't even catching that much, and now I don't think, is he?
I would imagine Contreras getting the bulk of.
Or did Davis go? Did Davis go to Tennessee?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he's at right now. That's a good question. But that's the other thing is the Cubs don't necessarily want to lose Fedorovich. Just because of, like you said, Wilson Contreras is not necessarily ready to step in there. And then, David Ross has talked about, how he is not an everyday starter. Miguel Montero's, been dealing with injuries. So they don't want to necessarily just lose Fedorovich right now. So hence the reason they're even carrying 3 catchers at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. So the Cubs are heading to San Francisco for a series late night Friday night. I think it's like a 9:00 game. Night game on Saturday, and then it looks like the ESPN Sunday night game on Sunday. So how do these pitching matchups look, Kurt?
All right, so you start tomorrow with Arrieta versus Peavy. Thankfully, this is not the Peavy of old. It's this old guy Peavy who's much angrier and doesn't pitch as well. He started off 1-4 with a 7.43 ERA. He's had a couple of decent outings, but mostly looks pretty hittable this year. So, as we know, any pitcher can kind of go either way based on that start. But that looks like a pretty favorable matchup. Saturday, Lester versus Kane. Kane also not off to a good start. He's 0-5 with a 5.48 ERA. His last two starts have been pretty good, so the 0-5 is a little misleading. In his last two starts, he only gave up 3 runs in 15 innings, so he's been looking better than he's started, but certainly not having the years like he has in the past. So again, that looks a little bit favorable to the Cubs. And then Sunday kind of flip-flops the other way, where it's Hendricks versus Bumgarner. Bumgarner's 5-2 with a 2.45, and his last start was a complete game, 5-hit, 1-run performance against the Padres. So he's kind of looking like his old self lately, and that one's going to be tough. So, but we've said that kind of before, where like you're facing Scherzer and they go out and do really well, but a guy like hard-throwing lefty is always a tough matchup, no matter how good your lineup is. And when it's him, it's even tougher.
Yeah, I mean, I think you feel pretty good about the first 2 games, the matchups there. But with that Hendricks Bumgarner game, it's not the best matchup for the Cubs. But like you said, I mean, they've kind of been able to handle other top line starters this season, and I think that if the Cubs do what they were doing up until about a week ago, driving up pitch counts, getting starters out, and getting into the bullpen, I think that's a game that maybe you could steal.
Yeah, if they can get to him early, I do think there's an opportunity there. But
right, well, I mean, even if you can just have, I mean, the Cubs have had some games where they'll really not do, they maybe won't score a run in the first inning, but the pitcher ends up with somewhere between 25 and 30 pitches in that first inning. I mean, that really puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher. If you can, get Fowler up there leading off and just foul some balls off and end up like, there was a game, I think it was in the Padres series, where, he ended up with 8 pitches in the first at bat. And I mean, that makes a huge difference if you can kind of string a couple of those and string together some full counts and fouling off pitches. And I think that might be kind of the recipe for Bumgarner. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like that seems to work against, like I said, those top line starters. So
yeah, but it'd be great to see them do something against him too, especially sort of leaving the next day to head to St. Louis and kind of ride some momentum, depending on what happens in the first 2 games, and take that into St. Louis. But
right, yeah. Okay, so Andy, we've actually received some email about Rube Waddell recently. Apparently, did you guys know that there was a band named Rube Waddell?
No.
You guys got that email, didn't you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought it was from Darren. He brought it to our attention. I thought he emailed all 3 of us in it. Maybe he didn't. So anyway.
Oh wait, yeah, I did get it. Never mind. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. There's a band named Rube Waddell. That's amazing.
Right. So did you guys happen to listen to the band?
No, I didn't have a chance to yet.
Is it like Puig Destroyer?
No, you're gonna want to though. But I just kind of like looked around their website because it looks very like, in a way it's kind of modern, but in a way it has like some elements of like 1998 to it. And so I here's the description of the band. Okay. Their 4th album offers 17 all new independently produced tracks that take listeners from the Latin influences of the Mission District up through a healthy dose of lo-fi swamp punk blues, from sea shanties to western country kitsch, from Broadway-styled vocal performances to Mid-East infused melodies and other places one wouldn't think of going. So if you want to know what this sounds like, it sounds like Latin lo-fi punk, swamp punk, country, western, Broadway, Middle East.
Wow.
I definitely want to listen.
That's how they describe themselves.
Quite an amalgamation of styles.
Yeah. So yeah, Rube Waddell. I guess check them out if you're into any of them.
I went to their site and they have no mention of Rube. Oh, there it is. Never mind. I take it back. I was gonna say in their about page they have no mention of the real Rube Waddell.
I mean,
but then they have a separate link called The Man. And it's all about Rube.
If I'm gonna start a band and name it after Rube Waddell, I mean, Can we come up with a better name than just Rube? Like I'm thinking like Rube and the Waddells. Or something. I don't know, just
Or
Rube
just
Waddell.
Rube. Just straight up Rube.
I don't know. But then we also got an email from Michael from Galesburg. Do you want to kind of summarize that, Andy?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can do that. Let's see. Michael mentions that there was a listener looking for a Rube Waddell jersey, and he notes that the MLB didn't start putting numbers on jerseys until 1932, so it might be difficult to get a Rube specific jersey. But he lists this website called Ebbets.com. If that can make what you want. So he was saying you could try that out if you want to.
That's a really cool website, by the way, too. I looked, and they have a lot of like really old, like throwback type T-shirts and stuff. So if you're into like historical baseball stuff, that's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
He also asks in the email something about. Do you have the email pulled up in front of you, Andy?
I do. Yeah.
He has something about. He has a question for our listeners.
Oh, okay. So I'll read that. I didn't know if you wanted me to mention that or not, but he says, I understand you have some former Expo fans and current Cub fans that listen. Is there a way to ask them if they have a new Montreal? Ask them if a new Montreal team would work. From the document on the MLB Network, it made it sound like it was a hockey culture and that it was hard to find owners who care about baseball. So Michael is just wondering, anybody from Montreal, from Canada, if you are able to speak to this question, and then just would a team work there again?
Yeah. So I know Ian is in Montreal because he sent me this Expos hat that's right behind me here. But I think the best way, if you're in Canada or have any connections to the Montreal area or know anything, that if you'd be able to answer Michael's question. I think the best thing to do would be to leave us a voicemail. You can do that through our app, our iOS or Android app. You can tap contact the show and then call the show. Or you can just dial 309-517-0624. But yeah, I think that's an interesting question. And with, the commissioner saying that that's a place that, expansion could happen. I'd be interested in knowing if baseball is sustainable in Montreal. But anyway,
I was just gonna say, when they did that game, the Blue Jays played there, they sold it out like 50-some thousand people. So at least for the short term, they proved they would come out and support.
Yeah. So you have a Rube Waddell story for us this week, Andy?
Yeah, I do. At one point, I do. In 1898, Rube was with Detroit Tigers, and for spring training or spring practice, they trained against they played a series of exhibition games with the Vanderbilt College or Vanderbilt University, I don't know, team, and so some of these college kids got to face Rube Waddell. And so one of their players also happened to be an aspiring journalist, I guess, and his name was Grantland Rice, and he wrote about Rube that day. So I'm going to actually read some of what he wrote about him. Grantland says, Rube was written all over him. You could tell it a mile away. And when you saw him shoot a couple in toward the plate, you could also tell from a mile away, which is about as far as all batsmen who faced him stood from the plate, that he had only to get control to be an unbeatable boxman. He had only a fair curve that debutant year, and not enough control to hit the Pacific Ocean with a shotgun. But smoke, he had more than a burning oil well. You could hear it zip, but you couldn't see it. A fact that immediately took all the rugged ambition out of those who faced him. And then he goes on to talk about how he sent 2 players to the hospital
Oh my God.
So he hit a guy in the jawbone and broke this dude's jawbone, and he was in the hospital for a month apparently. And then in the very next inning in that same game, his own catcher took off his mask and signaled to Rube, asked Rube to wait until he adjusted his strap. But because Rube was so impatient, he didn't wait. He yelled, "Look out," and just threw the ball anyway. And Grantland notes, in place of looking out, the catcher looked up, and he also went to the hospital. That's all. That's all it says. So.
Why would you say "look out"?
Just one last little bit here from Grantland's description. It says Rube wasn't very popular with his bunch that spring. He broke their best bats and beamed their best batters and made a frolic out of the trip. He had stuff, but it was too raw and unwieldy to be confined to any restricted spot 18 inches across. And it was a long spell before he found enough time between fishing trips to work upon control.
Oh, man.
So that's it. That's the Rube story for today.
There needs to be a movie about this guy. I can't think of who would maybe play him, but there are so many things. I mean, just in the stories that you tell, and that you've relayed to us. I don't know. Somebody's got to do it. It could become the best baseball movie of all time, I think.
For sure, in the right hands, it could be pretty good.
You can call it Rube and the Waddells.
That's all right. We have a band that can do the soundtrack with, with the little bit of country western kitsch with Broadway style vocal performance.
Corey, how would you feel about Will Ferrell playing him?
I could kind of. I don't know. I don't know actor. I don't know actors well enough, but I don't know. I guess I would still. I may not be as excited about it if it was Will Ferrell.
You'd probably choose like Jeff Garlin.
Oh God, I wouldn't even
to play Rube.
No, not even watch it. All right. Well, that does it for this 400th episode of our podcast. We have a winner for the t-shirt contest we talked about on the last episode. We did a drawing from the names of people that purchased the new version of Katie Days by the Lakeside, and the winner is Chadwick Whiteley, or Whitley. I think it's Whiteley. So Chadwick, send me an email, Corey@ivmv.com, Corey, and with your address and what size shirt you want, and I will get that in the mail. This episode is brought to you by all of our Patreon supporters. We have some new supporters this week. Justin in Northbrook, Dan from Reno, Nevada, who comes in at the Ryan Sandberg level. Thank you. Hannah from Oswego, Illinois. Chris from Watonga, Oklahoma. And Chris from Murrieta, California. Chris, the king of beer. I'm not sure if that's a title he would appreciate, but I'm impressed with his knowledge of beer and his untapped. I guess he's just prolific on there. So thanks to Justin, Dan, Hannah, Chris, and Chris. Patreon and the rest. Okay, let me start that over. I'm sorry. My notes are all screwed up here. Well, thanks to Justin, Dan, Hannah, Chris, and all of our Patreon supporters. Patreon helps us pay the podcasting bills, helps us upgrade equipment, and fund our live events like our tailgate in Milwaukee this July and the weekend at the lake. And if you like what we're doing, tell a friend about our podcast. We have a free iOS and Android app that they can listen to our episodes on. And if you really like what we're doing, then check out the Patreon campaign and the perks that you can receive. Go to patreon.com/IVMV. That's patreon.com/IVMV. Again, I'm going to play Danny Rocket's Ivy Ngioni here at the end of the show. Thank you for listening. And number 400 is in the books. Here's to 400 more. And we will be back on Sunday night. And until then, go Cubs. Okay. Yeah, it feels like Google's like delays and stuff are a little bit different. Didn't you guys kind of feel that?
Yeah, like you interrupt more because you can't quite tell the other. Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like we're not able to, like, the flow isn't as good on Google Plus as we were able to do on Blab.
Hmm.
Kind of weird.
I feel like you should. I mean, I hate to like tell you more editing type stuff, but like the beginning, like us trying to remember stuff, I just didn't think that went very well.
Where was that?
Just the beginning where we were trying to remember like memories from the first 400.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I can clean it up. There was a couple other things in there too that I thought I might clean up a little bit.
But that being said, I mean, I felt like the episode picked up a lot of steam toward the second half. Like I thought the second half of the episode was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't there's something about Google. I don't know if there's some sort of a delay, or if there's something where like we're not able to like talk over each other as much. I think that's part of it, is that with Blab you can kind of talk over and both people can hear each other. But in this, like, I don't think you hear it as much.
Yeah,
I think it cuts it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
So I'm going to explore our other options when it comes, as far as live stuff. And I don't know. I don't want to go back to Google Plus. I just don't like it.
I have a unrelated Twitter question. But like on my phone, the Twitter app will not stop giving me the little dot notification. Even though like you go to notifications, you see your notifications and it, they're all red. Everything's good and everything goes away. And then I close out of Twitter and there's no app, and then within seconds it comes back up. It's so strange.
Little badge icon.
You try deleting the app and reinstalling it.
So like here, I'm in Twitter, and you see it, and then watch, I'll go home. See the Twitter? There's no icon.
Right.
There it is. It just comes.
Are you only logged into one account?
Yeah, I only have one account.
I thought maybe you also had IVMVs on there or something. Maybe.
I don't think so.
You would have a lot more notifications, though. I mean.
All right.
I'm editing right now. Sorry.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I'll try to delete it and put it back on, but it's very strange. I like to have. I don't like to have notifications and dots.
I agree. I hate having the little red.
And that one won't go away, so it's really driving me crazy.
I love notifications.
Oh my god. Tabs and notifications.
Makes you feel wanted.
I was thinking the title of the episode could be Broody as All Get Out. I kind of like that.
I wrote that down too. Broody is All Get Out.
I never get an episode title.
You do now. Broody is All Get Out. First I wrote down The Chicks Are Doing Well, and then you said Broody is All Get Out, so I wrote that right below it.
DeRose asks in the good to see you, DeRose, by the way. He asks if you have a direct message or something.
I've gone to all of the like tabs, or whatever the things are at the bottom to look, and it doesn't appear that I do. Like I've gone to messages, and yeah, I don't get a lot of action on Twitter, so it's not like. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
All right. Well, I'm going to get going. So I guess Sunday night, we'll just record during the game. I don't know, unless we want to wait and do it Monday. What do you guys think? No, well, Monday's going to be tough for me, but I can do it. It's just, no, wait a minute. Our first game is Monday night. I can't remember if it's a 7:30 game or if it's a 6 o'clock game.
I mean, I'm fine with doing Sunday, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think, Andy? Any opinion?
Yeah, okay to Sunday. We're going to be getting back from Chicago that day, but we're getting back earlier in the day, so should be fine.
Hold on a second. Let me look. Sorry, I want to look to see. Oh shoot! Yeah, Monday games start at 7:30. That sucks. Crap. Well, I guess we can do it Sunday night. I just hate to do it during a game.
Yeah. Well, Monday they're going to be playing the Cardinals during podcast time, so.
Oh, I thought they had Monday off and they played on Tuesday.
No. The Cardinals series starts on Monday.
Yeah.
That sucks. To play Sunday night and then have to travel to St. Louis.
Yeah, that's lame.
Okay, well, we'll just do Sunday night then.
Yeah, I see them. I mean, it's hard to not see them being tired for that Cardinals game, but
Yeah, that's a rough trip.
Yeah. Well, the Cardinals kind of luck out on that one. Did you guys see that article about how the Cardinals are offering free Wi-Fi at Busch Stadium and all the jokes about how like
the hackers
and then they offer free Wi-Fi so they can hack your phone.
Oh, that's funny.
They tell all the scouts, "Oh yeah, here, use this one." All right, I gotta go.
Cool.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry it was goofier than normal.
See you guys.
Googlier than normal.
Broodier.
See ya.
Night.
See you.